Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. In today's episode, Anthony Power and I are excited to welcome Steve Gutterman for the first time to the program. He's a director and CEO of Gryphon Digital Mining. They just came out with earnings. We want to get an update on this business, their outlook for next year, and this CEO's vision for the company. Before we get into all that though, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comments section below what you thought of today's interview, if you're currently holding shares of Gryphon, and your outlook for next year. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, for the very first time, we've got the new CEO of Gryphon Digital Mining, Steve Gutterman. Steve, a lot going on in the Bitcoin mining space. We've had some big political developments south of the border. Obviously, a very exciting time for this sector. It's your first time on the program. We have a lot to cover, but first and foremost, I just wanted to say welcome and thanks for making the time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Most definitely. We're looking forward to this one. I went on your website into your updated investor presentation. The first slide I thought would be fitting here, since it's your first time on the channel, is a quick introduction to yourself, the CFO as well, if you don't mind, and just how you got involved with Bitcoin and then specifically Gryphon.
Sure. Let's start with Sim. Sim Salzman's our CFO. He's been our CFO, and he was thinking about taking some additional time to golf and be with his family, but he's excited about where we are and the vision for moving forward. And so we were able to talk him out of a little more golf and family time, which I'm very, very grateful for. He's an industry veteran, really lucky to have him. Before I talk about me, I'd like to actually talk about the rest of the board. Tremendous board. We recently added Jimmy Vapelos, who's the former CFO of HUD 8, and for a time was the interim CEO. We also have we continue to have other members of the board: Dan Tolhurst, who is a founder; Heather Cox, who I worked with at E-Trade; Jessica Billingsley; Brittany Kaiser; Rob Chang. It's a rather big board. And all of them bring great experience to the company. So we're very grateful for that, and we think that that's a real source of differentiation. As for me, I've been on the board for about a year and a half. I was the chair of the audit committee, and now I'm the CEO. And I really bring a background of I've helmed a lot of high growth companies in high growth industries, and so managing not just this, which is nice, the up, but this has been something that I've had to do over the course of my career. And so, yes, we're all excited about this bull run, and we are equally focused on creating a company that is sustainable through both bull and bear cycles.
Awesome. I mean, obviously, you've just released Q3 earnings, Steve. So, in your terms, just give us some of the brief highlights of quarter three, in terms of where you finished, in terms of like mining a Bitcoin as well. I mean, I'm assuming you understand about the cost of mining Bitcoin and how the revenues and the cost fitted in during that quarter. And actually, as we ended the quarter a lot lower in terms of Bitcoin price now. So maybe, to highlight going forward what that looks like from the company in terms of a price for Bitcoin.
Has the price of Bitcoin increased over the past week or two? I hadn't noticed.
Occasionally it pops up a couple of percent.
Really? Q3 for us really was a transformational quarter. And we did a lot of what I would call foundational work, and some of which I just talked about. We added to the board, we kept Sim, changed my role. And so we really feel like we have the team to move forward into Q4 and beyond. Second, and really importantly, we fundamentally changed the relationship with Anchorage, our lender. And so many years ago, we took out a 900 Bitcoin loan from Anchorage, and we had systematically paid back 600 of those 900 Bitcoin. But because the price of Bitcoin kept increasing, the notional amount that we owed on that debt kept increasing as well. So we had originally borrowed about $28 million worth of Bitcoin. We had paid back $18 million worth of Bitcoin, but because the price kept increasing, we still owed 300 or 18 million in notional dollars. We completely transformed that debt, and so Anchorage agreed to convert 13 of the 18 million into equity, and they converted at 100% premium to our current stock price. Still, even at that premium, they've become the largest shareholder in the company, and I'll come back to that in a second. The remaining 5 million is debt payable in dollars now, fortunately, not Bitcoin, and it's great. It's a great piece of paper for us. It's 3-year term, 4.25% interest only during the course of the term, which means that we've gone from paying a huge amount of Bitcoin every month to paying about $17,000 in interest. Massive difference for us from a cash flow standpoint. Also, massive difference on the balance sheet to show $13 million of equity instead of $13 million of debt. So financially, it was a real win for us. Perhaps even more importantly, strategically, we've changed the relationship with Anchorage from that of a lender to that of a partner. Anchorage is now our largest shareholder, and they want to see us succeed, and they believe that we will. And to that end, Dan Gregorin, who has been our portfolio manager and is a real industry veteran, has joined our board as well. We're real lucky to have him, although he might be getting tired of the constant phone calls that he's now getting. But other than that, it's been a real win. So added to the team, transformed the balance sheet, added Anchorage as a strategic partner, and really started to crystallize our strategy, which is this, if I may. One, we want to continue to expand our core Bitcoin mining business. As you know, we have 8,500 machines right now, and I think that we have a chance to grow that substantially over the course of the next year. And then number two, we are going to move aggressively into AI compute. So fundamentally, putting those things in place, the people, the balance sheet, the strategy, puts us in a real good place as we're now attacking Q4 and on into 25.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's great that you mention the people, because I think that gets forgotten a lot of the time. People talk about this industry, about having facilities, power, access to certain utilities as well, fiber. People always forget the people element as well and what they bring to the table. And you've got probably one of the biggest boards I've seen of all the mining companies, because I do have access to all their boards at the moment. And it's a good and actually the fact that you've got Anchorage on the board as well now, which is also makes them all on the same, we're all on the same playing field now. So it's everyone's goals should be all aligned going forward, which should be an interesting dynamic.
I agree. And look, all of those people bring something a little bit different. And we actually have a board, a group of investors, a board, hopefully a management team that befits a much larger company. And so we're, it certainly can scale. So we're very pleased.
I would say that, I mean, from obviously speaking with previous CEO, you're an asset light company because you have your miners hosted. So obviously it's quite fairly straightforward then, really. You've got your energy fee, your hosting fee, and then you've got your operation or costs or your overheads really running the business. We've had some challenging quarters across all the mining space. I mean, there's only one miner brought out a net income this quarter, and they'll own up there was a couple of nice credits during that period to help them get to that position. So
Yeah.
it wasn't expected that any miner would be in green territory because the Bitcoin price, the halving, the pressures when you start
Yep.
building in depreciate. If you want to grow a company, you've got to depreciate miners. So being an asset light company and knowing that your energy costs, your prime costs there, and you've got some overheads and you've got a hosting fee as well to play. As this Bitcoin price now at sort of like 90,000, 91,000, I think just before the podcast started, where do you see that put yourself in from a Q4 perspective, in comparison to Q3? Do you see yourself having a much better quarter going forward?
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously, I will have to put the proper caveats and
Yeah.
cautionary tales in there, particularly since we're a public company. But fundamentally, if the price of Bitcoin has increased 50% in a week,
Yeah.
that's helpful to us and the rest of the industry.
And from a cost perspective, you'll know that like you say, the debt cost or the interest on that debt cost will be vastly reduced. It's only 17,000. That's a major difference. And
Yeah, it's a major difference. Yeah.
Most
And actually, I'd like to give credit again there to Anchorage for really being a great partner, because as we talked through how to restructure the loan, they wanted to make sure that they helped put us in a position where we could be successful.
yeah, no, absolutely. No, it seems that way.
excellent. Yeah, it's a great deal that you were able to strike, and it gets better by the day as the price of Bitcoin goes up, and obviously the value of that old loan structure would have gone up as well. So congratulations on that. Now you mentioned kind of what's gone on over the past quarter since you've taken over the helm there, Steve. I wanted to now focus on the two different areas of growth you talked about, one being the mining, the second being the AI or HPC compute. So maybe we'll do the mining first. Can you give us just a high level summary? What are your plans coming up in the next few quarters as we move into 2025?
Sure. Let me make a comment that will pertain to both of those prongs, and then I'll talk specifically about mining. The name of the game is power, as you guys know, right? And so for Bitcoin mining, it is cheap, reliable power, and for AI, there's some additional things that you need, right? It can't just be cheap; it's got to be redundant. When we mean efficient and when we mean reliable, we mean 0.9999 reliable,
Five
not
nines.
just 92, 93% reliable, right? It's got to have some fiber connectivity that Bitcoin mining doesn't have. So there's additional hurdles for AI, but for Bitcoin specifically on that, like I said, we've got 8,500 machines that are hosted right now. We see the opportunity to grow that number substantially, though in a scrappy way. Singles, doubles, 5,000 here, 10,000 here. Buying either used machines really efficiently or buying in partnership with companies that are making new machines. And so we are going to systematically try to hit singles, doubles, maybe the occasional triple, with the idea that we could, God forbid, a home run, but really we're with the idea that we're going to keep at it, we're going to keep cobbling at it, and that this time next year when we speak, we say, wow, that's really a dramatic increase. And again, what that means is that we need to make sure that we're locking in the low cost power source or sources. So the strategy on that is to be efficient, nimble, scrappy. And you can expect to see us make announcements both on power and on additional machines, either acquired or through partnership, in the coming months.
In terms of power cost, where is Gryphon at the moment?
We've been at about 6 cents. We were at a little below 6 cents in September and a little above 6 cents in October. It was 6.2 in October. And when Bitcoin when Bitcoin price is at 60,000, that's not so good. When it's 90, it's a little better, right? And we have a little bit more leeway. Our past hosting contract had a rev share, and that's a tough thing in a bull market, right? So we're reevaluating the kind of fundamental nature of the contracts.
Yeah, makes sense. Hey, in terms of the fleet upgrade plans there, I was laughing in my head. Anthony, were you understanding the baseball references over in the UK
I was
there?
going to say there's a sporting analogy there, and it's not one of the UK sports that we play. So
Baseball.
we're
So single and doubles, they're single
Yeah.
and double runs. They're easier to hit than a home run.
like
So
cricket. Is it like cricket?
So Anthony,
somewhat.
you know what? We're not gonna take like a 40-yard shot at the
I know,
goal.
I
We're gonna
get
make
the
a couple
analogy.
passes.
There
We're
you
gonna
go.
pass to the right.
My question though was in terms of the actual machines you're looking for, the size of the upgrade, is there any specific unit or company that you want to buy from, purchase from, anything in terms of immersion, air cooled that we could kind of start to wrap our minds around?
The answer is yes. Right. So we're nimble, we're flexible. One of the good things about us being an asset light company is that we have a lot of flexibility, right? And so we'll do whatever makes sense and whatever will make us money.
Great. Now, the next area of discussion, HPC AI. I know you made reference to this earlier. I saw in the deck online this two-prong approach. You talk about really exploring the AI compute avenue in 2025. So I'm curious at this point, Steve, what discussions have been made so far and anything you can share in terms of strategy?
Sure. Well, first, let's set the stage a bit. I think that the reason that other miners and the reason that we are going into AI is because it makes so much sense, right? What we do fundamentally is we find a great power sources, low cost, efficient power sources. We put computers in those power sources, and we ask those computers to perform a function, right? Whether it's mining or HPC. And so that's what we're very focused on doing. And so the most important thing, priority number one, is finding these redundant, cost-effective, fiber optically connected power sites. And so, as you could imagine, we have spent a considerable amount of time scouring the continent and the world for the appropriate site or sites. And I think that it is fair to expect that we will make announcements on that at some point, right? And so hopefully sooner rather than later, but that's something that we're very focused on. So once you lock down the power, then you got to figure out what to do with the site. And so whether it's hosting or doing some HPC yourself, our general strategy there is to develop the site to a point where we're doing at least a megawatt or two of HPC as kind of a proof of concept, and then we'll make the strategic decision at that point whether to invest more heavily in HPC or do some combination of that and hosting. That'll be that strategy will develop as the market develops.
Yeah. And that's awesome. That's like providing the proof of concept for HPC to let the market know you're capable of delivering that business. Yeah. I mean, people say, oh, there is an expertise in the HPC, and we'll understand miners. We'll find that expertise, and if you look at the number of public miners that are doing these smaller to start with projects just to get there, to learn from the mistakes they'll make doing that small project, puts them in a healthier position than when they're sort of like, they're able to scale up. You've got the power accessible, you've got the capital waiting to deliver it, and then you can say, look, we've produced this, we've done this before. So it's good to hear that you're not rushing in there and saying to me, we're going to get 500 megawatts with a hyperscaler in 3 months' time. You're doing it in a sort of like organic way. So that'd be pleasing to hear for the shareholders.
Yeah, look, I think that this is I completely agree, right? I think that this is a massive, real opportunity, right? When we're talking about the shift, the societal shift towards AI, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that This is a shift as fundamental as the Industrial Revolution, as maybe hunter gatherers moving into villages. I mean, it's that seismic. So it's real, and it's something that we want to move on with alacrity. And at the same time, we'll always be very thorough and deliberate in how we act and how we deploy capital.
It's interesting. I mean, when we look back at, say, go back 3 months ago, and the rounds of conversations we're having on podcasts with CEOs at that point in time, HPC was definitely the conversational topic. If you look at today, HPC is still there and very much there with Wall Street. They see the HPC business as predictable from a revenue perspective, from a cost perspective. They can calculate the margins very easy. Bitcoin mining still that volatile, but actually you've got to look at Bitcoin mining now. Look at the Bitcoin price, what's happened since the election, and then say to yourself, is this going to stop? And at what point, from your perspective, actually, Bitcoin mining becomes the main focus of conversation again in the industry? Because it seems to have lost a little bit of ground in recent months. But actually, since the election and the price at 91 today, who's to say 100,000 in short term and wherever it goes from them? These ETFs haven't been selling Bitcoin. They've been buying it in like 25 times the daily production amount of Bitcoin
Yeah,
worldwide.
yeah,
It's not buying 1 or 2 Bitcoin, it's buying thousands of Bitcoin a day.
Yeah.
5
yeah,
billion Bitcoin was
yeah.
bought in the last 6 working days. That it's not going away. So, I mean, it's interesting, people are still talking about HPC, but Bitcoin mining is probably still a relevant conversation to have.
Oh yeah, I think both parts are incredibly relevant, and I think that to those people who right around the time of the halvening were talking about the demise of Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, to paraphrase Mark Twain, that the reports of demise might have been greatly exaggerated, right? I think that there's the Bitcoin market over the next year is going to be it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, you still want to be there at that point.
Most definitely. And that was actually going to be my last question for you, Steve, is just with the Trump administration coming in, we've obviously seen very favorable Bitcoin policy. We were both fortunate to be down in Nashville, see both RFK Jr., Senator Loomis, and Trump speak down there, all very favorably about Bitcoin. So just initial knee-jerk reaction. How do you think that's going to go next year for this sector?
I mean, I don't think that I am going out on a limb to say that all indications look highly positive, right? And it's not just the US government, though that is obviously a critically important component. It's other governments and other sovereign wealth funds and other huge institutions. It is in total the increasing acceptance of Bitcoin as a currency. And so I think that will we see continued ups and downs over the course of the next several years? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, I would imagine we will. And yet, do I believe that there will be continued and greater acceptance of Bitcoin as a currency? Yes. Yes, I do.
Well, a very fitting way to end the interview. I would give you an A plus for the first time on the channel. It's been great getting to know you. Excellent discussion about Gryphon, and looking forward to seeing these plans come to fruition next year. So I'll throw it back to you for any closing thoughts. We greatly appreciate the time, and it was an honor having you on the channel.
Oh, well, listen, pleasure's mine. Let's do it again.
Sounds good. You guys, if you're watching, you have any questions for Steve or the team at Gryphon, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Steve, the pleasure is all ours. We'll see you here soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.